Hello, good morning children. This is Sunday Ramzan. Today I am going to take 8th class English 3rd unit of lesson. 3rd unit name is Humanity. Unit name that it is. From this unit, A reading is given there. Before going to A reading, children, you see the textbook, the face sheet of the textbook. Here it is given there. I think that you can understand what is the meaning of humanity. Humanity is nothing but having the quality of a human being, and that is especially the quality which has to help the helpless people. The quality human being having, that it is humanity. Here a picture is given there, an old man, and a goal is helping with something there. So easily you can understand what is the meaning of that humanity. And later one discourse also given to you. You can write that discourse, that it is narrate an incident you have witnessed where people helped others. So helping other people. So you are the witness, for example. So for that you write a discourse, you narrate it there, helping the other people. Okay, now let me come to A lesson, that is the selfish giant. The selfish giant, part 1. This is the play. This is a small play, and this play was written by Oscar Wilde, great English writer, Oscar Wilde. Now all of you open your textbooks, and in this drama or play, old giant and the giant, children are there. Children names are given here. The first part of the lesson, let us see that. So background of this, you see that all of you see in the textbook, part 1, old giant and the giant, both are there, refer to the same character. These are not separate, these are the same character. The giant is a selfish character, whereas old giant is a changed and kind character. So old giant is a changed one, kind character he is, but the giant is the selfish giant also. Now, an old giant addresses the audience directly. Now, in this part 1, old giant he speaks to the people of audience. The action plays out behind him as he describes it. Now, the action goes on, you see that. Old giant says like this here. I once owned a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearl, and in the autumn bore rich fruit. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in my garden. But one day I came back. I had been to visit my friend, the cornice ogre, and had stayed with him for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, I had said all that I had to say, and I determined to return to my own castle. When I arrived, I saw children playing in my garden. So this is the background of this play. So old giant was telling that once upon a time he had a garden, and that garden it was with soft green grass and some other, and here and there grass it stood beautiful flowers also like stars and some other peach trees. There were 12 peach trees in the garden, and he was going to describe this. The birds they sat on the trees, children that they used to stop their games in order to listen to the songs of the birds. This is the beautiful situation of the garden. And every afternoon also, school children, those were coming from school, and the children, those who used to go to play in his garden. This was the situation of every day. But one day what happened, he went to his friend, his name was Cornice Ogre, and he stayed there 7 years of time. After 7 years, he came back to his garden. There you see that. The giant, what are you doing here? Here is a selfish giant here. The children ran away. So the giant says, my own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. So Already we have come to know that the giant is the character of a selfish. He won't allow the children to the garden. So the giant says, "This is my own garden," and he did not want the children playing in the garden. The old giant points out the younger giant working on a wall, putting up a sign, and then listening at the wall. Old giant says, "So I built a high wall all around and put up a notice board." He put up a notice board. He says like this: what is written on notice board? Trespassers will be prosecuted. Trespassers meaning is given to you. Trespassers means persons who go into land without permission. That are called trespassers. Without permission entering some land or garden somewhere. That is, the people are called trespassers. That means they will be punished. I heard the children whispering outside the wall on their way to school. Whispering means slowly discussing, slowly talking. The children were talking. Tall girl says like this here. No, we have nowhere to play. Short boy says, we can play on the road. And the square girl says, but the road is very dusty. Graceful girl says like this, and full of hard stones. Round boy says, I don't like it. Graceful girl, she says like this, let us walk around the wall. When our lessons are over, at least we can talk about the beautiful garden inside. That girl said like this, and tall girl says, how happy we were then, once upon a time. Round boy, he is a very selfish giant. The giant opens a door in the wall and shouts at the children. So this was the past incident. That giant, he shouts at the children. The giant says, oh, my own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that. And I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. So the giant was selfish. He says like this, I don't allow anybody to play in the garden. And this is my own garden. He says like this. The children scatter. Scatter means disperse. S-C-A-T-T-E-R. Scatter means disperse. Run away. They ran away. Old giant, now he is speaking. Then the spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in my garden it was still winter. The birds did not come to sing, and the trees forgot to blossom. The people who were pleased best were the snow and the frost. So these are the incidents that garden not received here. That garden has not received. So here that old giant says about his garden where the birds are not coming. Springtime also not came here. Children are also not playing here. Trees forgot to blossom. These are the things he was telling old giant. Snow and frost. Spring has forgotten this garden. So now we can live here all the year around. So what is snow and frost tells like this here. Next, old giant says, the snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak. Cloak, C-L-O-A-K, cloak meaning also written here a type of a coat that has no sleeves. A type of coat which has no sleeves. So, great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them. When he came, he was wrapped, W-R-A-P-P-D, wrapped. You have to read it like you have to pronounce it. Wrapped means covered, round, wrapped in heavy furs. He roared all day about the garden and rejoiced in blowing the chimney pots over. Rejoiced means here I have given you expressed great happiness. Rejoiced means expressed a great happiness. So the children, you see that the old giant says these things. He roared all day about the garden and rejoiced in blowing the chimney pots over. Chimney pots also meaning I have given to you a short wide pipe placed on top of a chimney. That is a chimney pot. So what wrapped in the heavy furs here? That it is north wind here. He invited the north wind and he did not want to see that he did not see the winter that it is and he did not see the blossoms in trees. North wind says, this is a delightful spot. We must ask the hail to come on a visit. Ocean north wind says. Old giant says, so the old hail came. Every day for 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. And then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in grey, and his breath was like ice. I sat at the window and looked out at my cold white garden. This is the old giant feeling of his garden. The giant says, I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming. I hope there will be a change in the weather. The giant, selfish giant said. Old giant says, but the spring never came, nor the summer. The autumn gave golden fruit to every garden, but to my garden she gave none. So in every garden that fruit came, fruit given, but in my garden the trees have no fruit. That the old giant said like this. Autumn, he is too selfish. The season autumn told like this. Old giant. So it was always winter here, and the north wind and the hail and the frost and the snow danced about through the trees. Because of this snow, because of the north wind, because of the hail, because of the winter, the trees they won't bear the fruit here. If these things, north wind, winter, and hail, if frost, if these things disappear, then the trees they would bear the trees. This was the situation. They danced through the year, through the trees here. This is the part one lesson. Old giant feels about the new season which has not entered the garden. Now 1 minute you see that the meanings I am going to read out here. Peach trees bearing round fruit with soft red and yellow skin. Delicate blossoms, tender flowers, castle, large strong building, trespassers, persons who go into land without permission. Cloak, a type of a coat that has no sleeves, wrapped, covered, dressed, rejoiced, expressed great happiness. Chimney pot, a short wide pipe placed on the top of a chimney. Delightful means very pleasant, charming. This is the part one story. Let me come to the part two also. Now let me come to the second part of this giant. This is a play. In continuation, let us see the selfish giant part two. So this is a part two lesson. Let me see that here. Old giant says like this. One morning I was lying awake in bed when I heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet that I thought it must be the king's musicians passing by. But it was really only a little linnet bird singing outside my window. Linnet bird, its a meaning also given to you. It is nothing but a small brown and grey bird it is. So one day morning he recognized this thing here. It was so long since I had heard a bird sing in my garden that it seemed to me to be the most beautiful music in the world. So the linnet bird which sings the song, it is the most beautiful sound and song, that music it gives here. Now the giant says, he is the selfish giant, the giant means. The hail has stopped dancing over my head, and the north wind has ceased its roaring. Ceased means stopped. A delicious smell is coming from the window. I believe the spring has come at last. So the giant understood the spring has entered here. The giant jumps out of bed and looks out. Through a little hole in the wall, the children have crept in and are sitting in the branches of the tree. The giant felt very happy when children came into the garden, when they sat in the tree's branches. Then old giant. In every tree I could see a little child. The trees were so glad to have the children back again that they had covered themselves with blossoms and were waving their arms gently above the children's heads. The birds were flying about and twittering with delight, and the flowers were looking up through the green grass and laughing. It was a lovely scene. Only in one corner it was still winter. So in only one corner there was still winter. Remaining part of the garden, rest of the part of the garden, it was a very happy mood. It was the farthest corner of the garden, and it was standing a little boy. He was so small that he could not reach up to the branches of the tree, and he was wandering all round it, crying bitterly. The poor tree was still quite covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing and roaring above it. Climb up, little boy, said the tree, and it bent its branches down as low as it could. But the little boy was too tiny. Tiny means small, very small. It was then that my heart melted. So the boy, he could not reach the tree. He could not catch the branches of the tree. So that the tree only bent its branches down and down. But even though the boy could not reach the branches, he was crying in the corner of the garden. Next page you come to that. The giant, how selfish I have been. Now I know why the spring would not come here. I will put that poor little boy on the top of the tree, and then I will knock down the wall, and my garden shall be the children's playground forever and ever. So the giant thought like this here. He wanted to help the boy, he wanted to pick up the boy towards the branches, and he wanted to break down the wall of the garden. That then the children they would enter the garden. He thought, old giant, I was really very sorry for what I had done. So I crept downstairs and opened the front door quite softly and went out into the garden. But when the children saw me, they were so frightened that they all ran away and the garden became winter again. Only the little boy did not run, for his eyes were so full of tears that he did not see me coming. So I stole up behind him and took him gently in my hand and put him up into the tree. So easily he took him and he put him into the tree. Then and the tree broke at once into blossom, and the birds came and sang on it, and the little boy stretched out his two arms and flung them round my neck, and I kissed him, and the boy kissed me. When the other children saw that, they came running back, and with them came the spring season also. So this was the situation how the spring came, because the giant he helped the little boy. Then the spring season came, entered the garden. The giant says here, is it your garden now, little children? Old giant says, I took a great axe and knocked down the wall. And when the people were going to market at 12 o'clock, they found me yes, me, playing with the children in the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. All day long we played, and in the evening the children came to bid me goodbye. So evening time, the people are coming and saying goodbye to giant. Tall girl says like this, sir, now we have somewhere to play. Short boy says, this is much better than the round road. Square girl says, yes, the road is so dusty and the dust makes me sneeze. Sneeze meaning a hug when you. Graceful girl, and the grass is so much nicer than those hard stones. And graceful girl says like this, round boy says, I like all the flowers. Graceful girl and the trees. Tall girl says, how happy we are all here. Thank you, Mr. Giant, he says. The giant says here, but where is your little companion, the boy I put into the tree? I don't know, graceful girl says here. Round boy says, he has gone away. The giant, you must tell him to be sure to come here tomorrow. The girl, I don't know where he lives. Square girl says, I have never seen him before. The giant says, but I wanted to thank him. When he kissed me on the cheek, I felt as though a great weight had been lifted from my heart. When the little boy kissed this giant, he felt something there. Short boy says, I'm sorry, but I don't think he lives around here. Old giant says, every afternoon when school was over, the children came and played with me, but I never saw again the little boy who I loved. Oh, I would like to see him again. I have grown old and feeble. Feeble means becoming dull and losing the strength here. I cannot play about with the children anymore. So I sit here in my armchair and watch the children at their games and admire my garden. I have many beautiful flowers, but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all. So he realized that the children only most beautiful flowers. That is why they have to play here. Getting up and looking out of the window. Here, I no longer hate the winter. It is merely the spring asleep. The flowers are resting. Suddenly, he rubs his eyes in wonder and looks around. Then, what a marvelous sight this is! What a wonderful and excellent sight it was. In the farther corner of the garden, a tree covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches are all golden, and silver fruit hangs down from them. And what is this? Can it be? Oh, can it be? He has come back. He has come back. The old giant leaps down, jumps down the stairs into a snowy garden and to the grassy patch where the child is standing. When he draws close to the child and examines him, his face grows red with anger. This is the situation. And next you see that old giant says, who hath dared to wound here? Your hands, your feet, who hath dared to wound there? Thee. Thee means here you. Tell me that I may take out my big sword and slay him. Slay him means kill him. I will kill him. Child, nay, but these are the wounds of love. They are necessary. Old giant says, falling to his knees, little child, who art thou? Art means are. Thou means you. Who are you? This is the old fashion of English. Child says, smiling, "You let me play once in your garden. Today you shall come with me to live in my garden, which is in paradise." The child climbs into the old giant's arms. The winter melts away before them as they walk into an ever expanding garden. The winter it disappears, melts means it disappears here, and the child was very happy, and the giant also became very happy. This is a wonderful story play written by Oscar Wilde. 1 minute you see that children, linnet bird, a small brown and a grey bird. The meanings you see that hail, small balls of ice that fall like rain. Seas stop happening. Twittering make a series of short high sounds. Sneeze suddenly which expel air from the nose and the mouth due to irritation in one's nostrils. That is sneeze. Slay, kill, art are the you old use of English. Though you it is used in singular form. Generally it is used in poetry. And for the next C lesson we will see in the next video. Thank you children.